Here we go. Continue. Here we go. Welcome to this edition of Salem Rotary Club in this, our 101st year. I'm Larry Gray, past president. Was president in 2002, 2003. Some of you were still unborn then, I think. I'd like to introduce Jessica Nissen of Spire Management, who will do most of the work on this call. Jessica, can you feature yourself with a photo? Thank you, Jessica.
Hi, everyone.
Now my grandson is banging on the window. He really wants to be a part of this. So he'll be introduced later, maybe. Please let me and Jessica know if you have any guests visiting Rotarians or announcements by placing a note in the chat box. So let's begin. Jessica, if you would fly the flag, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our words of inspiration are presented today by past president and past assistant governor and incoming district polio chair, Tom Golden.
Tom. Thank you, past president Larry. Here we go. Dear Lord, so far I've done all right. I haven't gossiped, haven't lost my temper, haven't been greedy, grumpy, nasty, selfish, or overindulgent. I'm really glad about that. But in a few minutes, God, I'm going to get out of bed. And from then on, I'm going to need a lot more help. Please provide that help as we go about our day as Rotarians. And we thank you for the opportunity to gather as friends, even through Zoom. And as we continue to give service above self, and we make a joyful noise as we do. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Now we'll introduce our guests. Again, if you have guests to introduce, please put that in the chat so we'll know. I know that Barry is on, and I believe, Barry, you have a guest to introduce, unless Jim Booth is on also. Barry Nelson, I thought I saw you.
I don't see his name in the participants.
Okay,
so.
Well, it was wishful thinking. We have a guest today from Willamette University, I believe. And Jessica, if you could bring on Orn Bodvarsson, and I don't think his name shows up that way. So maybe, Orn, you could...
if he starts talking, I'll be able to find him.
Raise your hand. Start talking and we'll find you.
That's me.
Okay, now
I'm the guy.
There we go.
Right.
There we go. Orn, welcome to this meeting.
Thank you.
I understand that you have recently joined Willamette University, and I don't want to misstate, so I'll let you tell us what you do at Willamette.
Well, I will be joining Willamette University, and I want to thank Jim and Barry for inviting me to my first meeting of Downtown Salem Rotary. I am currently in Salt Lake City, and I'm very active in Club 24 in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm on the board of directors of that club. I chair the membership committee, and I love being a Rotarian. And one of the reasons I'm thrilled to be moving to Salem is so that I can continue being a Rotarian in downtown Salem Rotary. And so I will join Willamette on July 1 as the Dean of the Atkinson Graduate School of Management. I'll be Willamette's rep to Rotary, and I'm thrilled to meet all of you. And I must tell you that I am fulfilling a dream to return to my beautiful home state. I am a Corvallis kid. I went to Oregon State, and I am absolutely thrilled to be returning to the great Willamette Valley. It's great to meet you all.
Well, welcome, Orn. We look forward to having you join our club and working together. Thank you for your continuing involvement in Rotary.
My pleasure.
John McCulley has a guest to introduce. John?
Sure. I'm pleased to introduce past President Larry, fellow Rotarians, Aaron Haynes. Aaron is a member of the Rotary Club of Corvallis. And if it hadn't been for what COVID is doing in California, he and I and our spouses would be headed to Stanford University tomorrow to watch the Beavers play Stanford. But unfortunately, we had to cancel our trip, but I'm glad Aaron could be at today's meeting.
Welcome, Aaron. Welcome. Now, visiting Rotarians, we just covered Aaron. Are there any visiting Rotarians? If you are visiting, please speak up. So that way we can find you. All right. Seeing none, I guess I should ask if there are any other guests of Rotarians, including student guests. I didn't see any. All right. I'm looking at the chat. All right. In the chat, Chuck has requested that if you haven't paid your dues yet, please do so. Otherwise, you have to deal with Chuck. Club announcements. I should have asked you to be prepared with club announcements by putting something in the chat box. First, we have Howard Bauman. Howard, do you have an announcement?
Yes, thank you, past President Larry. Can everybody hear me all right? Okay. Actually, I was asked to give a brief update on an international project, but I want to actually update you on two international projects. One is the project we have in Kenya, a scholarship project, and a new one that just came up, a recent COVID project in Nepal that I think you'll find interesting. But first, in Kenya, we received a very nice update note from the director of the scholarship program there, along with thank you letters and report cards from the students that we were supporting. It turns out that 16 other clubs are also involved in this project, and Seaside Rotary is the lead club. This project right now handles a total of 54 high school students, 6 of whom were assigned to our club because we donated $250 per school year per student for a total of $1,500 each year. We donated this year and we also donated last year. So it turns out that in Kenya, things are not like they are here. Public school stops dead in the water after they complete 6th grade. So the only way a student can go on to get secondary education is through private schools that are run by various nonprofit organizations and foundations, such as the one that we're dealing with here, the Rise to Shine Education Foundation. And so it's really hard for families and kids in Kenya to break that kind of a cycle with the costs of tuition, supplies, and let alone trying to buy a computer. So this foundation was started in 2012. And so far it's provided over 700 scholarships to date, essentially providing these kids with high school degrees, which of course opens up doors, including the possibility of going to college. So last year, when COVID broke out, the government shut down all schools in Kenya, public and private. But with the implementing all the needed precautions, and with some of the schools even adding extra dormitory rooms to further space out their students, the schools were able to reopen. And as I understand it right now, they're doing quite well. So I'd be glad to post the report cards and letters that we did receive. It'd be rather tedious for me to throw it up on a screen now, and we need the time. The other project is getting oxygen to Nepal. In terms of COVID-19, Nepal is in really bad shape. They're equal to India in the way they're suffering. So this last week, the Rotary Club of Kathmandu, which has been working over the years with the Newburgh Noon Club with past grants, asked for help. The Kathmandu Club can purchase oxygen concentrators at $600 each. So following a quick email vote of our committee this week, our committee has asked Chuck to send the last of our budget for this year, which is $1,500 for this project. And I just checked yesterday and learned that they have met their goal of $12,000 in pledges, and the funds are now on their way to Nepal. So you may wonder what an oxygen concentrator is. This is a device that does what it says. It concentrates oxygen. It takes oxygen out of ambient air. Remember, we're breathing air that has 80% nitrogen and 20% oxygen. And this apparatus actually extracts nitrogen. And so that the air that's going in the tube to the mask or to the nasal prongs of the patient is nearly 100% oxygen. These devices were developed in the 1970s and early 80s. They come in all different sizes and shapes, but they're usually about the size of a small suitcase. They're easy to move around, they're effective, and more importantly, it frees them up from having to purchase and lug around these large green oxygen tanks that are cumbersome and heavy. You'll see these commonly used in home care and in nursing facilities. So that's our report at the moment. If there are any questions, I'm glad to take them.
Thank you very much, Howard. For sure, if you would provide the information that you mentioned to Pam Wasson, she can put it in our next e-blast for next Tuesday. Okay. And that'd be a good way, I think, to do it, or at least a link, if not the full set of information.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Howard. That's interesting and does the heart good to hear what our club has been able to help out with. Next announcement, Beth Rhodes. We'll talk about good works and funding good works projects. Beth?
Thank you, Larry, past President Larry, and fellow Rotarians. I hopefully got an email into your inbox last Wednesday, Thursday, with information and a link to how to give to our good works for this Rotarian calendar year. So that ends coming up at the end of June. So we're hoping to get everything in by June 15th. So check and give us a good report that everything's in, and we're funding all the great works that downtown Salem Rotarians contribute towards. So some of that, of course, is literacy, which this year has gone to St. Francis, Gilbert House, and Boys and Girls Club, just to name a few of what we've been able to give to. And then Shelter Box, which is a really great program giving emergency services to people around the world during very traumatic situations. The World Community Service Projects, International Foundation. So just to name a few, and what Howard was just talking about covers some of what we give towards. So just a reminder that those funds go to some really good works, and we're anxious to fill that bucket without throwing a big event this year due to COVID and all the things that go with that. So thank you for your support. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to kind of go over what that is and how we're doing. So far, I believe we're with what's been donated so far and the funds that we've received, we're about 70% there. So we're really due to some really generous Rotarians who've given the $25,000 just to kind of help us launch. That was a super generous, and we're very thankful for that. So if you have questions, let me know, and I'll give another update next week.
Thank you very much, Beth. And once again, I encourage Rotarians to make that donation so that we can achieve our goal for good works projects. Thanks again, Beth. Any other announcements? I'm not seeing any in the chat. Jessica, how about you?
Nope, not seeing any.
Okay. Next, we have bell ringers brought to us by none other than Rick Galpo. Rick.
Hello, all. Just to remind you, I'm doing the bell ringers. If you send them ahead of time, I can do fancy, fun graphics. If you don't, you get to do bell ringers from the floor, which is just as fine as well. So let me share a screen. Sharing now. And our very first bell ringer, Pam Watson, is ringing the bell for the second annual Neighborhood Garden Tour to take place on Saturday and Sunday, June 5th and 6th in Salem's historic Court Chemeketa neighborhood. This self-guided garden tour is an annual fundraiser for Lord and Shiver Conservancy. This year, limited timed entry tickets will be sold to comply with COVID-19 social distancing requirements. The tickets are a screaming deal at just $20 a person and free under the age of 16. Box lunches are generously supplied by Minto Brown growers and may be ordered ahead for $15. You can purchase the tickets using the link provided in the chat, which is forthcoming, or going on the website of Lord and Shiver. A big thank you to our many sponsors, which include Rotary members, Barry Nelson with Capital Financial Planners, Don Boswick with Huggins and Insurance, and Tom Golden with Virgil T. Golden Funeral Services. Ring the bell for the for Lord and Shiver Conservancy Neighborhood Garden Tour. Ring the bell.
Thank you. Thank you.
Linda Bednars and Ryan Collier are ringing the bell for Salem Leadership Foundation's 25th anniversary year. Can you believe it? Do you want to be inspired with hope for our community? Do you want to take action and support a worthy organization? Then tune in to Salem Leadership Foundation's fancy 25th celebration this week. Instead of their annual Fancy Friday event, Salem Leadership Foundation is offering a fancy 25th celebration video for anybody to view on their own time in the privacy of their own homes through this Friday. Linda and Ryan, both Salem Leadership Foundation board members, invite fellow Rotarians to tune in and celebrate the 25 years that the foundation has been building bridges in this community. It only lasts 25 minutes, and we assure you, you will be inspired. So just go to the Salem Leadership Foundation website and click on, you guessed it, the fancy 25th event. The link will be put in the chat. We want to thank all Rotarians who have supported Salem Leadership Foundation and encourage you to tune in and be inspired. Ring the bell for Salem Leadership Foundation's 25th Fancy Week. Ring the bell.
Yeah, thank you.
Our last one comes from past President Larry Gray. This is his grandson, Lane. Larry Gray is ringing the bell to celebrate the first birthday of his grandson, Lane Remmers. Did I get that right? Remmers. Lane is the son of Sharon and Larry's daughter, Ann, and her husband, Tom. Lane was born into the COVID pause, and thus Sharon and Larry's clear purpose and much joy as they took care of him each weekday. Watching his development and his curiosity has enriched their lives immeasurably, and has seen their daughter and son-in-law give nurturing and loving care. Ring the bell for Lane. That is all the bell ringers we have from the pre-assigned. Maybe we have some in the chat. I haven't. None yet.
Thank you, Rick. I'll ring that bell. And while others are raising their hand to ring the bell, I will mention that if you thought that Lane had a red lip, it's because, yes, he did. He's learning to walk, and he took a header and bashed his lip. It's painful for grandparents. Any other bell ringers?
I don't see any in the chat yet, so.
Caitlin has one.
Oh,
Why?
Caitlin Beals.
Oh, thank you, Kate.
Hello. So the YMCA and the Camp Silver Creek Alumni Association will be on KGW tonight to talk about our new initiative to support Canyon kids who have been affected by the recent wildfires. So we're in the process of raising money to send kids who are directly affected to send them to one of our YMCA camps for a week this summer. Giving these kids a chance to reconnect with nature after this unique and traumatizing experience is not only healing, but will also give these campers a chance to just be a kid. With the help of donors, kids will receive a scholarship to either attend Camp Silver Creek, which is nestled within the Silver Falls State Park in Silverton, or Camp Greater, which is a day camp located in West Salem. Included in this scholarship will be the camping supplies that they may have lost in the fire. Additionally, we're partnering with United Way, Columbia, and some other local businesses to help provide as many supplies as we can. We always still need help. So you can visit our website at, I'll put it in the chat, to donate if you have anything, or if you have a business that would like to donate supplies. You can also get in contact with me at the Y.
Thank you, Caitlin. I'll ring the bell.
Thank you.
And I think Rick has some more bell ringers to introduce.
Yep, Tammy Denny would like to ring the bell for Howard's Pendleton logo jacket. What a buck. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Howard.
Okay.
And Howard is showing off his jacket one more time.
Warren has one, Rick. Warren Bednarz.
Go ahead, Warren. You're on mute, Warren. I can read lips if you would like me to.
I would like to ring the bell for two of my three kids. They're buying houses. I've got a son who's got a 2-year-old or 2.5, a 3.5-year-old. And he's upsizing because his wife is expecting and they're moving to Almsville to a fairly new house. And I have another son who's up in Portland who's tomorrow will be the inspection of the house. And it's just crazy housing market and the prices are crazy, but they are doing well enough to be able to go out and purchase homes.
And
so
our third kid,
yeah.
our oldest is actually moving into an apartment in a month. So we have 3 kids moving within the next month. So we're very proud of all of them.
So is that one bell ringer or 3?
That is up to your good faith judgment.
Put the link in. Oh, there is the link. Okay, I'll get it paid.
It depends on how excited you are about each kid.
Very excited.
Well, but hey, I'm going to ring the bell 3 times, but no pressure. There you go.
All right, any more?
Okay, I don't see any more. Jessica, do you see? All right. Thank you very much, Rick, and all of you were generous enough to ring the bell. Let's move on to our program, unless there's something I happen to skip on the agenda, which I'm sure Chain will let me know about. So our program today is brought to us by John McCulley, who knows something about the subject matter, I must say. John.
Thank you, past President Larry, fellow Rotarians. It's a great pleasure to bring this program today. I am a baseball fan, unapologetic. And I was excited to start arranging this program in February, and then became more excited on Monday when the news broke that the Oakland A's are going to be visiting Portland to check to see if that franchise may want to move for the 4th time to Portland. And I started having visions of North Salem High School's Jed Lowry completing his major league career in Oregon. So we'll see how that happens. Anyway, before I introduce the speaker, let me introduce the head table today. Caitlin Beals is on her way to earning her blue badge. Caitlin is the Chief Administrative Officer for the YMCA and is becoming more acquainted about baseball today, a sport that she says she knows little about. Tim Sinatra, I don't know if Tim's picture is available, but Tim agreed to sit at the head table today. And I was going to let folks know what Tim's favorite baseball team was, but he never told me. So welcome Tim as he's the executive director for the YMCA. Now, Emily, I see Emily here. Emily Swart is with Marion Polk Food Share and is a baseball fan extraordinaire. If you walked up to Emily's front door, the first thing you would see is the sign that says, "Take me out to the ball game." Emily is a fourth generation Dodger fan dating back to her great grandfather. Her dad played baseball at Willamette, and her two sons are now players. One is a pitcher and one is a catcher. And last at the head table is Kelly White. Kelly is a retired commercial banking officer and a member of our club's board of directors. And Kelly, like yours truly, is a huge San Francisco Giants fan. So welcome the head table. For the past 25 years, Mike Barrett has been one of the most recognized faces and voices on the Northwest sports media scene. He is a graduate of West Albany High School and holds a degree in journalism from Oregon State University. He began his broadcasting career at that powerhouse radio station, KUIK in Hillsboro, calling high school basketball games. In 1992, he became sports director for Portland's KXL Radio, where he also served as a sideline reporter for University of Oregon football games. Mike joined the Portland Trail Blazers in 1999, eventually becoming the longest tenured TV play-by-play voice in the franchise history. During his time in the NBA, he regularly appeared on regional and national TV and radio shows, was the editor of Rip City Magazine, and was a contributor to NBA.com, and was involved with a number of other sports broadcasting activities. He continues to serve as a trusted spokesperson for several prominent Northwest brands, and as you hear his voice, you will recognize many of those brands. Now Mike has traded his basketball sneakers for baseball cleats as the managing director of the Portland Diamond Project, an organization dedicated to bringing Major League Baseball to Oregon. Please welcome Mike Barrett.
Thank you. Thank you, John, for that introduction. So I've got some things to talk about today, and I just kind of wanted to update you, John, as you talked about. The way we've kind of driven this project is very quietly because of our connectivity with Major League Baseball since the beginning. So my partner and the director of the Portland Diamond Project is Craig Cheek, who was 28 years at Nike and ran Nike North America and Nike China. And after my time with the Blazers ended, Craig and I had lunch and had known each other through another friend, and we started this project, and this is about 3.5 years ago. But we have, in the early stages of this, and I can go a lot of different directions of this, and I tend to get long-winded, so I got to stay on track. And I will screen share a deck that we have for things like this, and I think it's actually overloaded, so I'll probably speed through it when I get to it. But it is kind of exciting to see some of this come to life. So as I was saying, Craig and I have been to the Major League Baseball offices in New York and have met with the commissioner and have met with a lot of officials from the league. And the tact that we took in this whole thing was to stay quiet and to do our diligent work, both politically on the real estate front. The one thing we didn't do quietly was try to create a kind of a grassroots fan base, because we know how these things happen, and it has to be through the people. And so we have been very quiet as of late, although working very hard. And then when this latest Oakland A's story kind of broke, we did make a statement, which we don't do very often, but we simply acknowledge, well, all this news happened because the the mayor of Las Vegas was coming out talking about how the A's were going to visit, and the A's have had difficulty finding a new home in Oakland. And the Oakland Coliseum, as Major League Baseball has said, and I think I have something in here on a slide that has a quote from Major League Baseball talking about it not being sufficient and up to Major League Baseball standards. So when this story broke, I guess it's been a week and a half, the Vegas news kind of started with the A's. We confirmed reports that we were engaged in talks with the A's, and we also confirmed that they were planning a trip to view potential new homes. So some of the arguments or some of the discussions in this have based around, and I'll just cite other people, what they have said. Is this a leverage play for the A's against the county of Alameda and the city of Oakland, or are they really moving? Because we've heard this for a long time. This has come up, and their home has been substandard for some time, which they have acknowledged. And I just think this has kind of turned into a political battle down there, but it's really heated up in the last few days, as John said. Yes, Jed Lowry is a friend of mine, and I talk to Jed often, and it's amazing to see him go from a horrible situation with the New York Mets back to Oakland for a third stint with the A's, but he ripped a nice double off the wall last night against the Mariners, albeit I think they lost again by 1 to the Mariners. But Jed's a smart guy who just purchased a home in Portland. He's been living in Houston in the off seasons, but yes, definitely pride of Salem, to be sure. Went to Stanford, however. I always give him a hard time why he didn't go to Oregon State, but he did go to Stanford. And Jed is a great guy. So we're happy to have the connectivity between Dale Murphy, who has been a huge help to us. Dale, of course, being from Portland. Harold Reynolds has been a massive support for us in New York. He's on the MLB network. So we have a lot of connectivity to the game. We've gotten a lot of advice. And as I said, we have kind of stayed quiet. What stirred it up recently was the fact that we had to come out and talk about this. So I can go on and on about that. There isn't a lot I can say about that, other than we have just our statement that we put out. And as everybody understands, when this happened, I had, as does happen, all the TV stations and a lot of reporters and CNBC and everybody else wanting us to make comments. So my phone has been ringing off the hook. But we have just decided right now to really not say anything publicly about what is going on. It is very sensitive in terms of real estate, ballpark sites, the political push. We know that, Portland has gone through a lot and probably is not in the best shape right now. We feel like baseball can be a unifier. Certainly, we know how pro sports work that way. I saw that in all of my years with the Trailblazers, and it would come playoff time, which it is right now, and you'd see the city come together, and you'd see differences get dropped, and you'd see everybody flying the same colors, same flag, and Rip City flag and all this stuff. And so I feel like sports has this power. And so I think there's never been a better time for this to happen. And let me share my screen and go through some of this. And I don't want to fly through it, but I do. And by the way, I haven't ever done this before. So Jessica was nice to walk me through this. So I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to go quickly through these. So I don't mean to speed through them too quickly, but I know I don't have a ton of time and I want to leave some time for Q&A. So I'm going to blitz through this deck. Some of it is going to be very germane. Some of it probably isn't, but at least I can talk about this while I try to share this screen. By the way, my dad was in the Rotary Club of Albany for many years. He was a teacher and a coach in Albany, and he passed in August. So this today is reminding me a lot of my dad. So is everybody seeing this okay? And if so, that's a victory for me because I haven't done this before. So you're all seeing this flag, I take it. Okay, good. All right. So again, this has a lot of screens on it. So let me see if I can, oh, there we go. So we when we went and pitched everybody, including seed investors, and we had a lot of those, and we went to Major League Baseball, we talked about, and there's a lot of text on some of these screens, so I'm going to scan a little bit of it. But baseball does have a storied history in our area. And we went all the way back, and one of the first pieces of property we looked at was on the ESCO property, which was the old Vaughn Street Park, which there's some and the funny thing is, being a baseball guy, which I was growing up, there's a lot of stuff I didn't know about the storied history. We already talked about Jed, and of course I was from Albany, but this is kind of, you kind of look at the Portland teams in the past, and this is kind of a timeline of some of the historical relevance that baseball has had in our area. You talk about 1866 all the way back to then. You see Vaughn Street Park, which I've mentioned, in 01. The Pacific Coast League in 56, Civic Stadium opened. Portland Beavers left in 2010. So, and there are, obviously the Hillsborough Hops are still up in this area. And so there is baseball up here. So I don't want to act arrogant and act like we aren't aware of that. So this is kind of part of a pitch deck that we have put through to people, talking about how ready Portland is. And I always say Portland, and I'm a Valley guy. And so when I'm on a call with folks like you, I know that you understand. This is a region-wide effort. This isn't just for Portland. And I always kind of remind people of that. This was a comment made by Jason Stark, who's a writer for The Athletic. This was just a confidence slide, once again, that talked about how we're viewed nationally, which I think gets lost on us at times. And this is somebody who knows the game saying we rank Portland, Oregon as #1 for an expansion or relocation site. So there have been discussions with teams. So Tampa Bay and Oakland have obvious stadium issues. Arizona seems to be, at least for now, addressing theirs. So that's #1 is relocation. #2, baseball has talked a lot about expansion. They've got to get to 32. And that's what we met about initially. We weren't necessarily talking about relocation, but we've tried to stay nimble and flexible for either. And we just feel like our market is underserved, and the West Coast, especially in the Northwest, is a bit underserved as far as baseball. This is the news that you talked about that had broke on May 11th. Major League Baseball came out and made the statement and basically gave the A's not only the freedom, but the encouragement to pursue other markets, or at least go shopping. And so they are in that, they appear to be in that phase now. So now we get back into more confidence slides about Portland and talk about the growth of Portland and continuing to grow, and talk about the people moving to the area. And this is a slide that always stands out because this ranks the latest DMAs of the Nielsen markets in the United States and how many teams they have of each professional sport. So you can see us down there at 21. Portland just passed St. Louis this year to move to 21 and only has one sport of the so-called Big Four. That always bothers MLS fans, but nationally they most of the economic groups do these studies with the Big Four sports, baseball, NFL, NBA, and NHL. You can see Stockton and Modesto and Orlando, Daytona. We don't include them only because the way we kind of qualified this is it's less than a 2-hour drive to another of the major sports. Clearly, that's not the case with us. So we're kind of standing out there. When you look at a market like Cleveland or Miami, Fort Lauderdale, or Denver, these are cities that don't rank that much higher than us on the chart. They have all 4. We have 1. So I guess this is more of an example of how we are underserved as a sports market. Jim Etzel's a good friend of ours. He's the CEO of Sport Oregon. This is a quote by him talking about, Jim is very good on the economic side, on the corporate support, because that has been mentioned in the past. I remember when the Timbers went to MLS, everybody said, there's not the support, there's not the corporate support. Well, clearly that was wrong. And they are a monster in what they have done. And congratulations to them for that. With Nike, Adidas, Columbia, Under Armour, so many Northwest companies. This is more of the rankings of Portland in terms of, and these are up to date, in terms of being in the 9th fastest growing metro area, high income jobs, 10th in median household, 5th out of the largest 100 metros in high wage growth. Again, these are both educational and stuff for you guys. You kind of know all this stuff. This is more of a screen we've talked about in terms of the transportation options, how Portland is very green in the way they view this. Tourism is big, and we have had a lot of talks with the tourism companies because baseball happens in the summer, and that is Oregon's highest tourism time. In my time in the NBA, for a family from Central Oregon, Southern Oregon, the Valley to buzz up and watch a Blazers game, that's certainly doable. But on a on a 35-degree rainy night in February, it's a little more difficult than it would be for us in the summertime with our gorgeous Northwest weather. Food and beverage scene, baseball loved this. Everybody knows that the Northwest and the Portland area has got a lot of options for food and bev. And so there's a neat chance for us to be an incubator for MLB. Sustainability, we talk about it a lot. We want to be a LEED Platinum ballpark, and nobody is yet. And we're talking to our architects, we can get there. A lot of high tech in the area, and you see some of the companies that have their flag in the Northwest, and that has led to, on some of the previous screens, what I have talked about. Sportland is what Craig likes to call Portland because of the 188 companies headquartered in the Northwest and in Portland, not the Northwest, in Portland, that kind of make their mark in the sports and outdoor industry. And this plays right into baseball and plays right into summertime and corporate support. The fan base, you guys know it. The Trailblazer fan base has been phenomenal, had the longest sellout streak in NBA history. The Timbers have sold out every game they've played. They have a waiting list that's 15,000 long. The Thorns have been a huge success. They are the most successful women's, it says soccer club, I think sports team in the world in terms of what they average in 17,000 a game. I'm starting to drag on this. I'm going to start to go a little faster. This is more, again, some of the rankings of Portland. I'm going to speed through a little bit of this. This is our group. Russell Wilson and Sierra have been fantastic. They were in early with us. There's Craig on the left, who is my partner. This is more of the flow chart. You can see some of the companies that are involved with us. Probably not as something you guys need to necessarily go through, but it gives you an idea of who is involved with this. And we've really gotten best in class people who are phenomenal at their jobs, both on the communications, branding, merchandising, legal and government affairs. Our architects in Kansas City, Populous, they do every ballpark and they're the best. Bob Thompson at TVA in Portland, he is fantastic. So that gives you kind of an idea of our chart. Some moments for us, we did sign a labor harmony agreement. Mayor Ted Wheeler was there. We went to Eugene. We went on a tour of the state of Oregon 2 years ago when you could do that kind of thing. And that was very, very popular. Some of the groups we were involved with, community organizations that we've had events with and certainly touch points with. These are scenes from when Russell and Sierra kind of landed, which kind of took us into the spotlight. We had been going for a while, but when they hit, we kind of went public. Some of the events that we go to around the city, around the region, more scenes from that. There have been design companies that have started designing jerseys on what the team would look like, what they would be named. We have loved that. And those are things we haven't even really started. It's been great to see these people do this on their own. We did have a store that was open in downtown Portland when COVID hit, and we stopped this store. But we still have all this stuff available on the website. And by the way, this week, that's been very popular once again. This was the baseballer bus tour. We went on statewide, went to Eugene, we went down to an Emeralds game, went to a Volcanoes game, went to a Hops game, went to a Raptors game, just kind of spread the word. And again, we loved doing this. This was an event. We had a World Series watch party. We had a watch party that celebrated the Negro Leagues, which was phenomenal. Educational for a lot of people who weren't really aware of that. That's this event here. Bob Kendrick, who runs the Negro League Hall of Fame in Kansas City, flew in, and we did a fantastic event at Jefferson High School, which was very, very popular. Outside of doing season ticket deposits, which the Seattle Kraken did of the NHL, that was a path they took. We decided to do a detailed petition signing, and we're over 70,000 now in terms of people who said they would not just support, but be engaged and get involved in this. All right, here's some numbers that I don't know how much time I want to spend on this. But we have run two very detailed economic studies to talk about impact of this and what it would do for the county, Multnomah County, what it would do for the city, what it would do for jobs, what it would be for an economic driver. again, rather than walk through all of this, you can kind of get the idea, and I apologize if there are some slides that you wanted to linger on. These are renderings of the ballpark that Populous designed with a retractable roof. The odd thing is we're not sure that we need a retractable roof. We kind of go back and forth on that. I think ultimately to be a 365 type arena, we would do that so that you could use it in the wintertime for other things. But that outside of April and October, where you get a mixed bag, as you guys know, we have great weather in our summers. So this is talking about the technology that could go into the ballpark today and how we would be willing to try everything. And everything changes in sports. And then Restore Oregon, we found the old Jansen Beach Carousel, which was in a warehouse in California. And believe it or not, that we partnered with them, and that is the plan is to restore and replace the carousel on the side of the ballpark. Talked about the food and beverage experience that we've talked about. I'll fly through a couple of these. Talks about some of the, talked about having an amphitheater, talked about some of the entertainment, talked about some of the accessibility of making this ballpark. In terms of when I talked about transportation earlier, yeah, this is kind of a wild shot, but people having beer taps at their table, I'm not sure how well that would go, but it's certainly fun to consider. This is a timeline, kind of talks about when we started and kind of what we've done on this list, which is daunting. We know it takes a long time. We hope we're getting there, and we're only 3.5 years in or so. Took Washington, D.C. 10 years from the time their project started to the time they landed a team, which was a battle Portland was in back in the early 2000s for the Montreal Expos. So that is the screen. I hope that wasn't too fast. I hope that wasn't too wordy, but I know that was a lot of stuff to kind of comprehend in a short amount of time. With that, I wanted to leave some time. Jessica, I think I'm on time here. I know we wanted to start wrapping at 50 or 55 for questions. I can just tell you to close before I answer questions that we've been confident during this whole thing, and we have been patient. We know these kind of things take a long time, but as some of the slides that I pointed out during this have kind of backed up, I do feel like this market is greatly underserved when it comes to professional sports teams. I feel like it's a great baseball market. And when people talk to me and ask me questions about fan support is the least of my concerns. And I do say that with some background, having been in pro sports since I graduated from college, basically, and seeing the rabid fan base that our area, Oregon, Southwest Washington, the Valley, statewide, they turn out for their teams. They always have. So I really think that that's not a huge concern of mine. And we have hit a window here with baseball in that we know they're going to expand by 2 in the next short while. We know they need a West Coast team, as Commissioner Rob Manfred has said on many occasions. And he has said, you can do the math. Portland is likely that city in terms of where it sits, how it's growing. And then the relocation thing with the Oakland A's. It's not a make or break on the A's situation, for sure. We're going to be interested if anybody wants to reach out and talk to us. So, as you watch the news over the next week or two, or, if this goes into, it's supposed to go into the middle to late part of June before that will come to a head in Oakland. If that doesn't happen, if they do stay in Oakland, if they decide to go somewhere else, that's not something that's going to cripple us. We are still confident, and we're still going to push forward to reach our ultimate goal. So with that, John, I don't know how you guys want to do questions, but I assume you guys have a way of doing this. So I'd be willing to answer anything that I can possibly answer without getting myself in trouble, which has been known to happen in the past.
Oh, really quickly, your assistant asked me if we could do a picture, like a screenshot with everybody in the frame smiling. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm going to put it on gallery view.
All of you who have dark screens, get them lit up because we want you to be in this photo.
Okay.
Well, while you're organizing that, Mike, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I think you hit all the right notes, and really appreciate the work you're doing, and want to say thank you on behalf of the club for your spending time with us today. So once the photo is taken, we've got about 5 minutes for questions, and Jessica and I'll monitor the chat to see who has questions or comments. I see at least 2. I'm not sure if Divine Distillers has a question or a statement. Are you ready for photo, Jessica? What do you think?
Yes, if everyone can look at their screen and smile. Ready? Okay. Just a sec. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take one more. Okay, I think that'll do it.
Good deal.
Okay, first question. Let's have Tim Sinatra of the YMCA. Tim.
Sure, thank you. Excellent presentation, Mike. John, sorry for letting you down. Oakland A's is my team. I do have a connection though to the Oakland A's through my wife. Her uncle is Ray Fosse, their main commentator, and he was the one with the big collision with Pete Rose that gets replayed every year. So I would love to see the Oakland A's come down. But great presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And again, you know, at times when we discuss a team, which we have never done until the last week or so publicly because we were engaged, you know, you take criticism at times for, we don't want to be seen as trying to poach somebody else's team and rip them away, you know? So that's something we're, I don't know, very sensitive to. I am. But when there's a situation that has been started that has been outside of what we do and what we can control, all we can control is to react and try to put the best foot forward that we can. And that's what we're doing.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim and Mike. Jason with Divine Distillers has a question. Jason?
You're muted.
Okay, Jason, I'll ask it if you want. Thumbs up if you're still muted.
So my issue with Portland in general for anything stems from me having done events in Portland, from me having gone to the Major League Soccer games, and from me having to deal with driving through and around Portland. In that Portland tends to not be very good. I love Portland, but Portland tends to be not very good at infrastructure. They do not spend the time and effort to, or at least in my opinion, to set up the roads and infrastructure to move people. Mm-hmm. Having been a longtime liver of New York and LA and Chicago, where you can get to a game and yes, you have to deal with a lot of people, but you can get there and get in and get out easily. And having spent 3 hours trying to get away from an MLS game here in Portland, does Portland have a way of fixing this, or are we just adding to congestion that's already brutal?
Well, I would say that, I mean, yes, there's been a lot of talk about that. And we've had lots of infrastructure and transportation talks and lots of studies. In fact, one just wrapped up a big transportation study. And yes, while it may be tough to get to a Timbers game, they've never not sold out a game. So I would say that it's not keeping people away. Blazers, kind of the same story. I would say there's a lot of new things out there. We visited the Battery in Atlanta where the Braves play, their brand new ballpark. And, you know, ride sharing and the way that Uber and Lyft work, you know, the Braves, because they had the room, they set up this apron with like 9 lanes and it looks like a little mini train station with ride sharing. And it is amazing how efficient it is. And if you've been to Atlanta, you know the traffic is some of the worst in the country. And the way they have done it is it really has not increased traffic where they built their ballpark. Now their ballpark's a suburban park. It's out in Cobb County, but it's in a horrible area in terms of traffic. But the way they've done it, and they basically have set up their system to be able to run stoplights. They have one guy who sits inside. He's on the ballpark property, and he basically runs, well, not just one guy, but it's an algorithm, but it runs all of the traffic signals in the area before on ingress and egress. And it's kind of amazing how they've done it. So I would just say technology is getting better. Some of the methods of moving people are getting better. And I think, but yes, that is a major concern. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, sorry, one last on this. I don't think that it's impossible, but I think that Portland tends to not pay attention to that. And I don't think that that's going to mean that we won't have people go to the games. I think that will definitely happen. It's just that it's going to make it unmanageable to have yet another congestion area if Portland doesn't fix it. I was just asking if Portland has spent any time at all on this.
We've had lots of talks with them and with the people in charge of these things around traffic. Yes. And so that is something that is being paid attention to, but I certainly understand what you're saying.
Next question, Cindy Lanasar.
Hi, in one of your renderings, it kind of looked like there was a tram. Is there a concept literally to do a ski tram and loop it around the ballpark?
That was a gondola suite. So in one of the, yes, then that's sometimes when we let our architects off the chain and just let them go crazy, they come up with this kind of stuff. And that was an idea they had, which actually is doable. I don't know that that's going to happen, but that was one thing they had come up with, which could be different. And, you know, it's the ballparks in the country that's the beautiful thing. I just love that about baseball, which is unique, makes baseball unique. There are things like that are trademarks of certain ballparks, and they're unique little things. And when I think they were thinking about things that could be unique to our ballpark, they came up with that gondola suite, which the way it was planned and the way they had talked about it was you would watch a few innings from the gondola, you'd watch a few innings from here, and then a few innings from third base dugout. And not to get long-winded on that, but the one thing we have learned in all of this is how things change in ballparks as far as the seating goes. So Coors Field in Denver, they had all these, you know, their upper deck, they basically taken out most of the seats and put in these 4 top tables because the younger people, they're starting to realize they don't like to sit down very much. They like to move around in packs and they just kind of roam about. And so more ballparks are getting more creative in their thinking and getting non-traditional in the way they seat people. Luxury suites, skyboxes, they're kind of out right now. For a long time they were in. I know the Blazers at Moda Center have messed with their suites, you know, blew some walls out, made party suites. They've made some smaller game by game rentals. So it's always changing. And I think the gondola suite is just one more idea of how we push the envelope and kind of put ourselves on the map.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to ask this last question. This requires about a 15-second response, which I'm sure you'll be happy about, because the question is, where will the stadium be located?
Yeah, well, that is, unfortunately, I cannot tiptoe into real estate, but there are, it's not like we're throwing darts at a board. We are in, we have our sites that are, you'll know when that becomes public, and that may be sooner than later. I'll put it that way. It's longer than 15 seconds, but I had to kind of decide how to answer that.
Good answer, Mike. Thank you. And Warren Bednarz, thanks for the question. Mike, we want to say thank you very much. This has been a fun presentation. Want to say we're sorry to hear about your dad's passing.
Thank you.
Glad you're a Valley guy. Thank you again so much. And in honor of your time with us today, we're going to make a donation in your name to our Salem Rotary Foundation. Thanks
Thank
again.
you very much. No, I appreciate you all listening, and I hope it was entertaining and informational. And again, I have a soft spot for the Rotary because of my father's involvement, and I just appreciate your words and appreciate you all being here.
Thank you, Mike. Our program next week is an economic forecast presented by state economist Josh Lerner, and Allison Kelly will be our program chair. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much for attending.